Right now, however, we are joined by Senator-elect Bernie Moreno. Mr. Senator, it's great to have you on.
Well, thank you very much, Scott. It was a great red, white, and blue wave last night. America won a huge election. We rejected the extremism of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and Sherrod Brown, and we're going to restore this country. And I can't tell you how excited I am to get to Washington, D.C. and just get to work for the people of Ohio.
Are you going to be okay if I slip and call you Bernie every once in a while instead of Mr. Senator?
Absolutely. You can call me whatever you want. And listen, there was $250 million in negative ads. I've been called everything. So
right. Well, and I'm sure because of some of those ads, people will pronounce your name Bernie Moreno.
Exactly. No, you know what? I'm excited because I know I'm gonna get work to work for the people of Ohio. I didn't win Lucas County, which was a disappointment to me. So I look at that as my fault. So now what I got to do is see why the people of Lucas County didn't see in me a candidate that would work for them. Spend the time to make certain I get to work and make sure that I make their lives better and get success that way. So change their minds. So that's always how I viewed things, and we're eager to make that happen.
So tell me about last night. As you're sitting on pins and needles, Ohio was called relatively early for Donald Trump. Your race took a little longer to call. It was a slightly tighter race. What's going through your mind? What are you doing last night before you were able to accept victory?
Hitting the refresh button, refresh button, refresh button, refresh button. I've flattened the glass on my iPhone. Then it got a little frustrating because we thought the race should have been called really an hour earlier, but I guess it was still mathematical probabilities that weren't zero. But once it got called at 11, it actually worked out great because we were able to announce it right at the 11 o'clock hour. And I was fortunate that the news carried my acceptance speech, which I hope the people of Ohio were proud of, because it was a speech about hope, optimism, what we're going to do to bring this country together. We have to stop the divisiveness, Scott. This is an amazing, great country, and we have to stop thinking of each other as each other's enemies. There's dramatically more that unites us than separates us, and I'm confident that President Trump is going to lay out a path to get there.
So the networks waited until around 11 o'clock to call. I think I sent you a text a little bit before then. My cat Tiger and I were watching the numbers as well, and the Scott Sands Show decision desk, my cat, and I decided to call the race a few minutes early based on the numbers that we saw.
Who called it first? Was it the cat?
It was the cat.
I thought so.
The cat may have
cat's the smarter one.
Yeah,
by the way, the cat's the smarter one.
Absolutely. may have pawed send before I'd planned to, but that's fine.
Well, listen, never doubt an animal that has 9 lives.
Right. There is breaking news from Northwest Ohio today. I'm not even sure if you've seen this story yet. I'm sure you've been quite busy, so I may be hitting you with this out of the blue. Stellantis just announced more than 1,100 layoffs at the Toledo Assembly Complex as they shift production. It looks like it's affecting the Toledo Jeep Gladiator brand. I mean, this is something that's going to have an immediate economic impact on this area.
Yeah, you know what? I did see that. I know Carlos Tavares from when I was a Nissan dealer and he was the head of Nissan. I got to go get a meeting with Carlos and understand what his plans are, what we need to do to make certain that he looks at Toledo as a place to invest more in. So that is at the top of my agenda, is to secure a meeting with Carlos before the end of the year, before I even get sworn in. And look, if there's something that's preventing Stellantis from wanting to invest in Northwest Ohio, I'm going to take that out of the equation. But we cannot be cutting production, and we will not sit by while these companies gut our manufacturing base. Look, there's too many families in Northwest Ohio that rely on that plant for their livelihood. As you know, during the primary, sadly, I predicted this outcome. Unfortunately, the leadership of the UAW is not in a position to have any credibility with these companies. So we're gonna go in there and do the work that otherwise UAW leadership would do, which is to say, hey, how can we get you to invest more here? What do we need to do? What needs to happen? We need to restore the auto industry in the U.S. We're going to do that through a combination of tariffs. We're going to do it through a combination of tax policy, through a combination of regulatory policy, and we are going to get rid of every electric vehicle subsidy and incentive. And as I said last night in my speech, California is no longer going to be able to dictate emission standards for this country. So we do all those things, and I'm fairly certain we can get that Jeep plant back in the growth trajectory that it deserves to be on.
Sherrod Brown's had a long relationship with UAW in this area. Will you be able to work with UAW leadership?
As long as the leadership's actually willing to be constructive and work towards a positive result, if they want to be political operatives, then it's not going to be a very fruitful conversation. I'm happy. I will work with the UAW members because that's my constituency. The people who actually work at the factory, they go to work every single day to make things happen. If the leadership's willing to do it and have a constructive relationship, look, theoretically, we want the same thing, although sometimes they hide behind the same intent with a political motive. But look, it's very simple. I want that plant thriving. I want that plant on double, third shift, whatever it takes to get that plant going. I'm going to remind Carlos Tavares that the United States government handed Jeep to Fiat for free, which was a total abomination. Literally handed that company that was worth hundreds, if not tens of billions of dollars to a foreign entity for free. Think about that for a second, Scott. The United States government made a decision to hand over the corporation Jeep to a foreign company for $0.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable and
insane.
We're talking to Senator-elect Bernie Moreno here on the Scott Sands Show. Looking at the numbers, you won by a slimmer margin than Donald Trump took the state. I think you would agree with me that you owe much of your success and victory to the support of Donald Trump and the votes of Donald Trump's supporters. If there's ever a disagreement with Donald Trump over policy while you're in Congress, are you willing to stand up and vote against Donald Trump?
Well, I mean, we're the reason he endorsed me and the reason I endorsed him is because we're completely aligned on issues. If we had a different vision of the country, we wouldn't endorse each other. And of course, in my case, there was a third-party candidate that the Democrat Party tried to do some sleazy maneuver to try to get them to pull some votes. I think he got like 3% of the vote.
Yeah, we're seeing the same thing in Derek Barron's race here in Ohio's 9th. A Libertarian candidate took about 14,000 votes away from Derek.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of sleazy stuff is just, it's frustrating that the Democrats have to play dirty pool to keep their state, ineffective politicians in office. It's a shame because Derek's a good man. He should have won that race. But look, at the end of the day, to answer your actual question about President Trump and I working together, we have the same vision for the country. We want to restore this country to greatness. I don't see where we would disagree because we both have that exact same goal in mind. I'm going to be one of his strongest allies in the United States Senate. That's going to bode well for Ohio. Obviously, J.D. Vance and I, the vice president-elect, by the way, J.D. Vance, which is just amazing to be able to say that. Our friends, we're going to get some great stuff done. In fact, maybe as a result of this conversation, it's going to remind me maybe I should, maybe we can tag team Carlos Tavares with J.D. Vance. And we're not going to sit, I'll just tell you this, we're not going to sit by and watch that plant be gutted out. It's not going to happen.
J.D. Vance hasn't replied to my text yet either. I just thought I'd point that out.
He doesn't really like you.
No, I know. I got that impression. Have you
I'm the only one you have left. That's it. After me.
And look, I'm going to be holding you accountable for the next 6 years. Have you heard from Vice President-elect Vance or President Trump yet?
I did. I have not heard from President Trump. The man has been very busy. Very, very busy. The man knows I couldn't be prouder of him. I know that he's happy with the race that we ran. We are both extremely busy today, so I know I'm not going to reach out and just add another phone call to his already filled docket. But JD and I are friends. He called me last night. Very excited. I mean, he's just such a good person. I wish the people of America understood how lucky we are to have a guy like that as vice president. He's just genuinely a good human being. He's the kind of guy that if you said, hey, who could I go out and grab a beer with or go to a ball game with or just hang out with, that's JD. He's just a good human being. And on top of that, happens to be somebody with a deep love for this country and the people who make this country work.
Who do you think? Who do you think is the front runner to be named to replace him by Governor DeWine?
The person Governor DeWine wants to appoint is the front runner. But I will say this. That's a very important position for me because that's my teammate. We haven't had two Republican senators in Ohio I don't think ever, honestly. I'd have to look back in history. Certainly not in my memory banks. So we're going to need to. Actually, it was probably George Voinovich and Mike DeWine. Now that I think about it, and so it's been a while. It's been a long time, and so we have to do is really make certain that we have somebody that is fully in favor of the agenda, is going to push to make certain that the agenda gets accomplished, has a good relationship with President Trump and JD and myself and Jim Jordan. And I think the governor will make a good decision. The governor's been very, very, very good to me during this campaign. He was a strong supporter. The media tried really hard to drive a wedge between the two of us. He didn't allow it to happen. I didn't allow it to happen. And I look, the governor is going to be the governor for the next 2 years. And if we want to get great stuff done for the state, we're going to do it together.
I also make the prediction, mark the tape on this, Sherrod Brown will run for governor in 2 years. That's my prediction for him.
I don't think so. Look, what I saw in Sherrod Brown, he hasn't even called me, by the way.
Really?
Which, what are you going to do?
I mean, Kamala Harris went to bed last night at midnight, so I'm not surprised based on some of the Democrat reactions.
Yeah, but at least she called President Trump.
Today.
Look, I think the guy's just tired. If you look at the campaign he ran, I think he didn't run a campaign the way he would have run a campaign 20 or 30 years ago. We all have our time, and I think time has passed him. I don't think that he's going to do anything else politically. I think he'll probably figure out a way to use his power and connections to make money. I'll let Tim Ryan. But who knows? Who knows? Look, at the end of the day, what we showed last night is Democrats can't win statewide in Ohio. We got 3 new Supreme Court justices, well, two new ones. So we're now 6-1 there. I think the 7th one sees the writing on the wall. And I think in 26, when that person gets defeated by a Republican, there will not be one single solitary statewide Democrat elected in Ohio. And I think we'll be like Florida in that way. And look, Florida has 1.1 million more registered Republicans than Democrats. And you know why? Because Republicans actually do Republican things. They work because Republican things make lives better for their citizens, and they get rewarded by getting reelected. Tim Scott was supposedly in this very competitive race. Rick Scott, and he won by 14 points. 14 points in Florida. This used to be a swing state. So I think we could take lessons from that and model ourselves after that state.
We're talking to Senator-elect Bernie Moreno here on the Scott Sand Show. Bernie, I got to tell you, you sound more relaxed than you have in a long time. Congratulations on the win. You got a lot of work to do for the next 6 years, and hopefully you'll get some rest in the next couple of days.
I'll get some rest 12 years from now. For now, the people of Ohio have hired me. The job has been given to me, and I honor and respect this job, and I'm going to get to work every single day, Scott. I take this job so serious. You have no idea what it feels like to have almost the responsibility of having you're representing almost 12 million people in Washington, D.C., and they're asking you to make their lives better. And it's not a time for rest; it's a time for action and work. And I'm getting after it. And I do want you, all kidding aside, to hold me accountable. Make sure that we have regular communications where you can say, "Hey, why'd you vote on this, or why'd you vote on that? What's your perspective on this or that?" Because that's what the media needs to do, and I look forward to that kind of relationship.
Yeah, I know how to find you. We'll continue these conversations. Congratulations.
You got it.
Senator Bernie Moreno. Thank you for your time, man.
Thank you. Yep, bye-bye.